He didn't yell, he didn't fight, he just walked away. And that's what terrified them the most, not the noise of confrontation, but the silence of absolute self-control, a man who disappears without a word, yet leaves an impact louder than a scream. This is the invisible presence of the Sigma male. Unlike the alpha, who commands through charisma, or the beta, who seeks approval, the Sigma operates outside the social hierarchy altogether. He doesn't need to prove himself because his identity isn't tied to external validation. He exists on his own terms, and that alone disrupts the fragile dynamics of any room he enters or exits. People feel the shift, though they may not understand it. His energy is calm but potent, like still water hiding deep currents. He listens more than he speaks, and that unnerves those who rely on noise to feel important. Sigma males aren't antisocial, they're selectively social. They observe, they analyze, they listen to silence the way others chase applause. And it's this mysterious restraint that unsettles others, not aggression, but ambiguity. In a world obsessed with broadcasting every thought and chasing constant attention, a man who simply becomes the loudest whisper in the room. Psychology studies even suggest that individuals who show emotional control, especially in high-pressure social situations, are perceived as more powerful and self-assured. The Sigma embodies this effortlessly. He's unpredictable, unreachable, and most of all, unbothered. His detachment isn't apathy, it's independence. He doesn't need them, he doesn't need anyone. And that quiet autonomy, it shakes people. Not because he's trying to dominate, but because he reminds them of their own dependence on others for identity. This isn't a story of dominance, it's a story of difference. A kind of difference that reflects back what others don't want to see. Their own insecurities. That's the true reason they fear the Sigma male. Not because of what he does, but because of what he doesn't need to do. Let's begin. Number 1, he's uncomfortably silent. Most people fear silence, not because it's empty, but because it is loud in a way that words are not. In silence, all the noise we use to distract ourselves fades, and what remains is truth. That's precisely why most people avoid it, but not the Sigma male. He thrives in silence. Unlike others who scramble to fill every pause with chatter, jokes, or nervous laughter, the Sigma rests calmly in the stillness. His presence doesn't demand attention, yet it commands it. While others interpret silence as awkward or uncomfortable, the Sigma sees it as a space where masks drop, pretenses unravel, and real identities are exposed. Scientifically, studies in psychology show that silence activates deeper brain processing, prompting introspection and emotional awareness. In the presence of a Sigma male's unwavering quiet, people unconsciously begin to hear the voices within themselves, their doubts, insecurities, and inconsistencies. This introspective discomfort isn't something they're used to, and that's why it unnerves them. When they see that he won't play their social games, won't scramble to validate them, or react to provocation, it exposes just how much they rely on others' reactions to feel in control. A Sigma's silence isn't passive, it's powerful. He watches, listens, and waits, all without revealing his hand. This forces others to reflect, often for the first time, on who they are without applause or performance. In a world obsessed with likes, noise, and instant responses, his refusal to engage in ego-driven interactions comes off as mysterious, even threatening. What's more, his calm and measured gaze makes people feel truly seen, not just the polished version they present, but the raw, unfiltered version they hide. And that is terrifying for most, because to be seen is to be vulnerable. And in that vulnerability, people confront the truth they've long suppressed. The Sigma male doesn't have to expose them. They unravel themselves. It's not power through dominance, it's influence through presence. That silent presence, rich with psychological depth and unspoken insight, is the mirror many fear to face. Number 2, he operates with surgical detachment. The Sigma male doesn't panic, he assesses. In a world where people often react impulsively to chaos, betrayal, or emotional turmoil, the Sigma operates like a silent tactician. While others yell, flail, or spiral into panic, he watches, calculates, moves with precision. He's not heartless, he's strategic. Think of a sniper versus a foot soldier. The soldier runs into battle, reactive and exposed. The sniper waits, studies, then acts with one clean, deliberate shot. That's the Sigma's emotional approach. There's no wasted energy, no unnecessary drama, and no outbursts that cloud judgment. He knows that in emotional warfare, the one who stays calm holds the power. And that calm isn't accidental, it's trained. Studies in psychology show that people who develop high emotional intelligence, EQ, have greater control over their reactions, which leads to better decision-making and stronger leadership. The Sigma has, consciously or not, developed this trait through experience, solitude, and deep introspection. He's walked through emotional fire before and learned not to catch flame. To the average person who's still ruled by impulse or ego, this kind of composure feels eerie, even robotic. It's unsettling to witness someone who doesn't flinch when everything's falling apart. But that's because most people have never mastered their own emotional chaos. They project their internal instability onto others and feel threatened by someone who has what they lack: discipline. It's not that the Sigma doesn't feel, it's that he doesn't let feelings dictate his actions. Like a martial artist who breathes slowly in the middle of a fight, his strength lies in restraint, not aggression. And that kind of inner mastery, that ability to remain grounded in a storm, is both rare and powerful. It's why people often misread the Sigma's detachment as coldness, when in truth it's a high form of self-regulation. This isn't apathy, it's alignment. In a noisy, emotional world, the Sigma's silence roars. Number 3. He walks away with no explanation, no fight, no drama, just silence. One day he's there, calm, observant, seemingly connected. The next he's gone, vanishing like smoke before anyone realizes they were breathing it in. This sudden disappearance isn't accidental, it's deliberate. It's the classic exit of a Sigma male. Unlike other personality types who may yell, argue, or seek closure, the Sigma male disengages with surgical precision. And that silence, that's what shakes people to their core. It leaves no explanation, no apology, no breadcrumb trail to follow, just a haunting absence that echoes louder than words ever could. Psychologically, this reaction stems from a fundamental trait of the Sigma male: emotional detachment paired with high self-worth. Sigmas don't stick around where respect is lacking or their energy is drained. They observe quietly, analyze deeply, and when they recognize they are being used, underestimated, or merely tolerated, they leave. No announcement, no performance. This type of behavior isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. According to studies on introverted personalities and self-reliant individuals, those who fall into the lone wolf or Sigma category often value peace over validation and solitude over toxic connections. What really unsettles people is what this silence reveals. Suddenly, they are forced to confront uncomfortable truths. They were never the priority. They weren't appreciated, just accommodated. The Sigma male's silent exit acts like a mirror, reflecting the indifference they failed to see while he was still around. It's not that he stops caring, it's that he never pretended to care more than he did. People start to analyze every word, every look, hoping to extract a meaning that was never promised. But nothing comes, and that nothing becomes everything. What makes this departure sting even more is that Sigmas don't look back. They're not trying to teach anyone a lesson or win them over. Their silence isn't a tactic, it's a philosophy. They believe in preserving their energy, protecting their peace, and walking away when the cost of staying becomes too high. It's not cold-heartedness, it's emotional discipline. So when a Sigma disappears, it isn't just an exit, it's a revelation. And in the emptiness he leaves behind, others are finally forced to see the space they never truly filled. Number 4, he respects you, but won't fear you. People often mistake quietness for submission. Society is conditioned to think that the loudest voice in the room holds the most power, while the silent one is merely passive or timid. But this assumption collapses when it comes to the Sigma male. His silence isn't surrender, it's surveillance, it's strategic. While others are busy performing, he's observing. The Sigma sees what most overlook: the clenched jaw behind a fake smile, the hesitation in a handshake, and the sudden drop in someone's voice when they're hiding something. His brain is wired to read between the lines, decoding body language and micro-expressions that reveal people's true intentions. According to studies in psychology, over 90% of communication is nonverbal. That's where the Sigma thrives. He doesn't need to speak to assert power, he simply understands people too well to be fooled. So when manipulation enters the room, The Sigma doesn't shout or argue. He doesn't give the manipulator the satisfaction of a reaction. Instead, he detaches, swiftly, silently, and completely. This is where his power becomes truly unnerving. The manipulator who relies on emotional leverage and drama finds themselves without a handle to grab onto. There's no emotional outburst to exploit, no weakness to play off. The Sigma offers nothing but absence, no final confrontation, no second chances, just a vanishing act that stings deeper than words ever could. This leaves manipulators in a spiral. Their greatest weapon, control, no longer works. And without that, they're powerless. This cold disconnection triggers fear, because it reveals something terrifying. The Sigma cannot be controlled. He doesn't need validation, doesn't fear solitude, and certainly doesn't rely on toxic attachments to feel worthy. That kind of detachment is rare and dangerous to those who feed on emotional chaos. It's a psychological shutdown that's deeply unsettling to manipulators because it exposes their own fragility. And the silence, that's not retreat. It's a message. So the next time someone tries to play games with a Sigma, they won't hear a warning. They'll only notice the silence and the empty space where he used to be. Number 5, he never competes for attention. Alphas roar, betas beg, Sigmas vanish, and it's that vanishing act, not loud, not dramatic, but clean and precise, that pulls more attention than any showy display. In a world obsessed with being seen, heard, and validated, the Sigma male's quiet retreat isn't weakness. It's strength in its rarest form. Unlike the alpha, who asserts dominance through control, or the beta, who seeks acceptance through submission, the Sigma doesn't engage in the social hierarchy at all. He steps outside of it. He doesn't raise his voice. He raises his standards. He walks away from anything that compromises his peace, his values, or his independence. And when he does, something strange happens. People who once ignored him start seeking his attention. Those who underestimated him try to win his approval. His absence creates a void that people feel but can't quite explain. Psychologists call this the scarcity principle. When something or someone is less available, they're perceived as more valuable. The Sigma male embodies this principle naturally. He doesn't need to play hard to get. He's hard to get because he's already complete within himself. He doesn't perform to be liked. He exists on his terms. And ironically, that quiet detachment becomes magnetic. While others post, boast, and overexpose themselves trying to prove their worth, the Sigma stays silent, observing, refining, and evolving. This invisible power, this ability to disappear without fear, terrifies those who rely on constant validation. Because the Sigma has never chased attention, and yet attention seems to chase him. His mystery makes people curious. His silence makes them listen harder. His independence makes them question their own need to belong. And in doing nothing, he shifts everything. It's not arrogance, it's not aloofness, it's discipline, it's self-knowledge. The Sigma male moves like gravity, unseen but deeply felt. And while others exhaust themselves trying to shine, the Sigma understands that the brightest stars are the ones farthest from the noise. Number 6, he grows in the shadows. While others post every gym session, every side hustle, and every ounce of ambition on social media, the Sigma male builds in silence. He understands a fundamental truth. Real transformation doesn't need applause, it needs consistency. While the crowd seeks validation through likes and comments, he finds power in discipline, solitude, and mastery. Each day he chips away at his goals, refining skills, expanding his mindset, and developing discipline most people only talk about. You won't hear about his hustle on day one. You won't even see signs of progress for weeks or months. But then, he's fluent in a new language, a task most abandon halfway. He's leading a complex project no one even knew he was preparing for. The man you overlooked is the one everyone wants to learn from. This stealth evolution isn't accidental, it's strategic. Neuroscience supports this approach. Studies show that announcing your goals prematurely can trick your brain into feeling you've already achieved them, reducing the drive to actually follow through. The Sigma male bypasses that trap. He knows that real achievement is rooted in process, not performance. He doesn't seek permission to grow, and he doesn't crave praise for doing so. This unsettles others, especially those who've spent years about change but haven't moved an inch. His evolution exposes their stagnation. While they were busy debating plans, he was executing his. That quiet commitment makes him untouchable, not because he brags, but because he becomes undeniable. People fear what they cannot control or predict, and his rise, unannounced, uninvited, and unstoppable, breaks their illusion of superiority. There's something unnerving about someone who grows beyond your expectations without ever asking for your approval, and that's the power of the Sigma male. He transforms in private, appears in public evolved, and walks away from mediocrity without looking back. His discipline is his declaration, his success is his statement. And to those still stuck in the loop of talk without action, his mere existence becomes a silent challenge: evolve or be left behind. Number 7, he's immune to shame. Call him weird, call him cold, call him anything you want. He won't flinch, because the Sigma male has already done what most people never dare to do. He has faced himself. That long, hard stare in the mirror, he didn't blink. He confronted the darkness, the flaws, the regrets, and the scars he once tried to bury. While society trains men to suppress, to hide, and to pretend, the Sigma chose solitude over performance. He embraced the discomfort of self-reflection. Psychologically speaking, this kind of radical self-acceptance is rare. According to Carl Jung, the shadow self, those unwanted traits and past mistakes, is something most people deny, projecting it onto others. But the Sigma doesn't project, he integrates. He makes peace with the parts of himself that others are still ashamed of. That's why attempts to shame him or use his past as a weapon fall flat. He's not hiding skeletons in the closet, he's danced with them. And that unnerves people, because control relies on fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, and fear of being alone. But the Sigma doesn't fear isolation. In fact, he thrives in it. Studies in behavioral psychology have shown that people who are comfortable with solitude tend to have stronger emotional regulation, higher self-awareness, and greater autonomy. These are not just character traits, they're superpowers in a world obsessed with conformity. So when someone tries to push him into a box, mold him, guilt-trip him, or manipulate him emotionally, it doesn't work. Why? Because you can't control a man who doesn't need your approval. That's what makes the Sigma unpredictable and intimidating. He's detached, but not because he's numb, because he's disciplined. He's cold, but only to the nonsense. Weird? Sure, if thinking for yourself is weird. He walks away from drama without announcing it. He leaves toxic environments without a breakdown. And he rises from failure without fanfare. That quiet strength, that's what scares people. He doesn't need to be loud, flashy, or constantly seen to prove his worth. And because he has nothing to hide and nothing to prove, the world can throw its worst at him. And he'll still walk forward, unshaken, unmoved, and completely free. Number 8, he leaves a legacy, not a trail. The Sigma male isn't concerned with being remembered, but ironically, that's exactly why he is. He doesn't need applause or attention, nor does he hunger for recognition or titles. Unlike those who clamor for validation, the Sigma operates in silence, like a shadow with purpose. His movements are intentional. He doesn't broadcast his plans or trumpet his success. He lets his results do the talking. When he enters a room, he doesn't dominate it with volume, but with presence, a quiet energy that unsettles the insecure and inspires the observant. And when he leaves, it's as if something intangible has shifted. People talk about him more in his absence than they did in his presence, not because he forced them to notice, but because they couldn't help but feel him. Psychologically, this resonates with the concept of a phenomenon where those who observe more than they speak often become the most impactful. Research even shows that individuals who act with deliberate calmness and restraint are often perceived as more competent and mysterious, two traits that linger in people's minds long after they're gone. The Sigma male doesn't seek attention, but his discipline, boundaries, and ability to walk alone draw it anyway. In many ways, his detachment is his power. He can remove himself from environments that no longer serve him without bitterness, leaving behind not bitterness or drama, but curiosity, respect, and in some cases, obsession. He challenges the narrative that you have to be loud to be seen. Instead, he rewrites it with every step, showing that quiet confidence is the rarest and most magnetic force of all. That's why the Sigma is remembered, not because he demanded to be, but because his existence quietly demanded reflection. People don't just remember what he said, they remember how he made them feel, even when he said nothing at all. His impact echoes in their minds like footsteps in an empty hall, long after he's walked away. The Sigma male doesn't aim to frighten, he simply exists on his own terms. In a world that thrives on validation, applause, and endless noise, his quiet confidence becomes a disruption to the norm. He doesn't conform, chase trends, or beg for attention, and that non-conformity is what unsettles people the most. Society often rewards extroversion and compliance, but the Sigma male rejects the idea that he must play a part to be accepted. This isn't rebellion, it's authenticity. He values solitude over spectacle, depth over drama, and purpose over popularity. And because he's not trying to impress anyone, his presence is often more powerful than words. Psychologists say those who are least reactive often hold the most control, and Sigma males master this. Their silence speaks volumes. Invisibility becomes influence. So stay curious, be unseen, be unfazed, and in doing so, become unforgettable in a world that never saw you coming.